I joined AFDO, I'd say probably fairly recently, within the last 5 years, and had an opportunity to represent our regional affiliate, NFDOA, Northeast Food and Drug Officials, on the board. And that really helped me really develop my interest in becoming more involved and getting involved with this great organization that's doing so much for food safety and drug and medical device products in our country. Working in public health and in the food safety field and leading a program, knowing your peers and the folks working in this space is really helpful for building partnerships and sharing best practices. And, you know, we all have similar challenges that we encounter. So finding folks that can share information, strategize on ways to do things better or more efficiently has been key. So AFDO provides a great community for all of us of state, local, tribal, federal, academia, industry, and consumer group partners that are all working towards, you know, a common purpose of protecting public health. And so getting involved in the organization is a great way to not only learn lots of new things about the field, but also make sure you know who those people are and develop those relationships, because you know, we all go through emergencies and outbreaks and investigations, or maybe have tricky questions we need to answer. And having a lifeline to call or knowing you have partners in these challenges is key for just moving together, moving forward together. AFDO is working on a lot of projects, and we have a lot of things that are really important and are taking some time, or they naturally take time to make progress. So for priorities for this year, and this is day one of presidency, so I'm sure we'll keep talking more about this, but for first and foremost, improving information sharing continues to be a priority that I'd love to carry forward to really fully implement this shared vision for the integrated food safety system. We really need to be able to make sure we can share complete and timely information with our partners to protect public health. So we are making progress. We're working together with the regulatory partners on that, and that's an existing priority I'd like to carry forward. And then we heard a lot this week at the AFDO conference in Phoenix about how recruiting the next generation of employees and developing our future leaders is so important, and that really has affected all of us. So I'd like to challenge ourselves to try new and creative ways to recruit people into this field. We need to find a way to really tell our compelling story of the importance of protecting public health. And in addition to that, we have lots of really passionate people with great skills that are currently working in our organizations that we need to continue to mentor and develop to be our future leaders in the food, drug, and medical product safety fields. Third, I think important to all of us, utilizing technology to provide better data to inform our work. There is current technology available to really help all of us have access to data that will help inform our decision making for improving food safety, drug and medical device challenges. And this week we heard from our colleague Frank Yanis at FDA, who shared some thoughts that better food safety begins and ends with better data. And that's so true. So I'd really like to focus on continuing to support those investments in technology to improve the information that we gather, analyze, and that we use to look closely at what we're doing to really inform our actions. And then lastly, number 4, is just strengthening our partnerships. AFDO has great partnerships with our state, local, tribal, federal, industry, academia, and consumer group stakeholders. And as you say, after a very challenging last couple years with less gatherings and less in-person collaborations, there's an opportunity to really strengthen those partnerships and also nurture new partnerships in areas where we all share a common purpose. So I hope that everyone will join me in really expanding and deepening our relationships with our partners this year. So that's a challenge to all of you. Yeah, the AFDO board is really important because it provides an opportunity to participate in the current priorities and planning for the long-term future of the organization. So a lot of times board members, bring with their experience and expertise to the board, but they also, represent their regions or their communities, and we all have a different experience throughout the country. So it's important to kind of have a group of people that can really work on some of the challenges we face or ideas for the future together and bring a variety of perspectives there. And AFDO board members are always available for you to reach out to if you have ideas or you have thoughts for something AFDO should know or something that might be worth focusing attention on. Reach out to your board members or consider getting involved in the future because the board members are really active in current projects and priorities and being able to think about what the long-term plans are for the next couple years and where it would be beneficial for AFDO to focus their priorities and resources and maybe even what needs might there be for acquiring new resources or a certain skill set or something to help all of our members. So the board is kind of working behind the scenes, but they definitely are really involved in providing input to the organization, and it's a good way to represent, share your thoughts and represent the different regions and help have the conversation about the future direction that might be helpful for the organization. There are lots of ways to become more involved in AFDO. Certainly, becoming a member is an easy way to join and have access to this community, and also that some information that's available through our website and through our e-news and a lot of different ways. But there are also several committees and also sometimes ad hoc committees that are developed to address a certain issue. But the committees have a group of people on them that are passionate about a topic and share their expertise, and they meet regularly. That's also a really great way to get to know other people and build some of those connections within the fields. So that's always available to do. And then also that helps strengthen our membership. So, we want to make sure that we are representing everybody well and that we have a variety of viewpoints from a variety of backgrounds. So becoming involved actually and becoming a member helps strengthen the organization overall. I have learned so much from getting more involved with AFDO. There are things that, I just didn't know I didn't know. And there's always something, there's always more to learn. But in this week, actually, I spent a lot of time in the retail track this week, and just a few of the first-time attendees, came up and shared with me just how much information that they learned that they didn't know was out there, and they didn't know they should even think about this. And that, I think is really important that AFDO, wants to make sure that we all just have the information to do our jobs better, that we build connections and know people. But we are always constantly learning, and this organization is a great way to just continue being curious, learning things, and work together on some of our challenges. So for all the first-time attendees and for the IFPTI fellows that are moving through their career to the next level, just feel free to get more involved. Like, now that you're in, and we want to continue to, use your skills and use your expertise and get involved more with the organization, because we're happy to have you and we want to continue to build this community. During an emergency is not the time to find out who you need to contact or who would be helpful to reach out to. And we do hear examples of this all the time. So building those connections, now, because there's a lot of information that can be shared, when you're not in a crisis. It also is a much more pleasant conversation, right? When we're not in a crisis, to just make sure who the partners are in your area, and also reaching out to these national partners when you have a question or during an emergency. Those connections have already been built, and that in many ways makes things just go so much more smooth during an emergency. During COVID, that was a once in a generation pandemic, I hope I can say. And, we were all trying to figure out what the messaging should be amongst our partners to protect public health, and what the messaging was for food safety specifically. So I think a lot of states were reaching out to each other, reaching out to AFDO. AFDO was working with the partners nationally, CDC and FDA and the consumer groups, to figure out, what is our messaging to protect public health, but also to try to be reasonable with our industry partners to know what is actually the risk. So that was probably a very large scale recent example of where those networks and partnerships were so key, because you don't want to reinvent the wheel by yourself, and that's not always the answer, right? So we were working together to find out what is the most accurate information that we know right now, and how can we share that widely with our membership and our partners to make sure that everybody's on the same page during a pandemic. And that was extremely helpful to have AFDO taking that lead and working with the federal partner leads to really get information out. I think there's an opportunity for AFDO to advocate for putting new ideas out there, trying something new. And sometimes we may fail, and hopefully, we can get back up and try something else. But if we don't try to change anything, we will continue doing things the same way. And that doesn't work for everybody. So yeah, I appreciate AFDO, putting a step out there and having those hard conversations, and trying to kind of, at the same time, trying to move forward together with innovative and new ideas. And that can be challenging. But if we don't try something new, we'll regret not trying. Because at the end of the day, these issues where we can try to do something differently, there are real impacts there, sometimes to public health, right? Like moving quickly or getting something off the shelf or trying to do something a different way, that can impact people and, the real world folks. And so that's where I think we have a responsibility to identify if there is a way to do something better, faster, or just more smoothly with all of us, that we should explore that, and we should move in that direction.